Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Virtual Storytime from your very own Newark Public Library. I am your host, Mix Alley. That is Mix, just like Mixing Bowl, not to be confused with Mr., Ms., Mrs., or Miss, because as you can see, I am not a boy, nor am I a girl. I'm a unicorn, and so is my storytelling companion. Please put your hands together for the one and only Jonathan Van Unicorn. Hello, everyone. How are you on this fine Taco Tuesday? Yes, Jonathan, happy Taco Tuesday to you. Oh, thank you, Mix Sally. Happy Taco Tuesday to you too. Jonathan, how do we celebrate Taco Tuesday here on Virtual Storytime? Well, Mix Alley, first we read our Taco Tuesday book, Dragons Love Tacos. Then, naturally, we read some of our chapter book, which doesn't really have anything to do with tacos, now that I'm thinking about it, but we read some of our chapter book, which currently is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. We always read some of our chapter book during Virtual Storytime, so we do that Taco Tuesday, mundane Monday, every day, rain or shine, we do that. And then, on Taco Tuesday, we also finally close out with a unicorn dance party that is especially taco themed. Great explanation, Jonathan. Are you about ready to take a seat and get cozy and listen to me read Dragons Love Tacos? I think I am, Mix Alley, but first, important announcements. 1. If you enjoy this live story stream, which you will, so much that you want to hear more, Mix Alley and I, note that I said I will be here at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, at 11 a.m. and again at 2 p.m. You can see me and Mix Alley, but think of me. We also, thanks for that, Jonathan, we also do virtual bedtime stories on Monday evenings at 7 o'clock p.m. Yes, and the one other very important thing that someone forgot to mention at the beginning of the show is that, as always, we're recording this live story stream on land that rightfully belongs to the Lenape Indian tribe, and if you are tuning in from anywhere in our fair city of Newark, New Jersey, you are likely also on land that belongs to the Lenape Indians. Jonathan, thank you so much for remembering to say that. It is very important that everyone knows that. Thank you so much. All right. You ready for Taco Tuesday? Oh, am I? All right, folks. Well, let's get right into it. I am going to read us Dragons Love Tacos by Adam Rubin and illustrated by Daniel Salmieri. Happy Taco Tuesday to you. Here it is. Dragons Love Tacos. Whoops. Hey kid, did you know that dragons love tacos? They love beef tacos and chicken tacos. They love really big, gigantic tacos and tiny little baby tacos as well. Why do dragons love tacos? Maybe it's the smell from the sizzling pan. Maybe it's the crunch of crispy tortillas. Maybe it's a secret. Either way, if you want to make friends with dragons, the tacos are key. Hey, dragon! Why do y'all love tacos so much? This dragon is not giving us a reason he loves tacos, but he sure looks excited about his takeout from the taco cave. But wait! As much as dragons love tacos, they hate spicy salsa even more. They hate spicy green salsa and spicy red salsa. They hate spicy chunky salsa and spicy smooth salsa. If the salsa is spicy at all, dragons cannot stand it. Why do dragons hate spicy salsa? Well, just one drop of hot sauce makes a dragon's ears smoke. Just one single speck of hot pepper makes a dragon snort sparks. Spicy salsa gives dragons the tummy troubles. And when dragons get the tummy troubles, oh boy. Imagine if you could breathe fire and then your tummy was upset. It's bad enough having an upset tummy anyway, but in that case, there's fire everywhere. No good at all. If you want to make tacos for dragons, keep the toppings mild. Tomatoes, lettuce, cheese. Those are all good toppings for tacos for dragons. Hey, dragon. How do you feel about spicy taco toppings? This dragon is not telling us, but they're lying on the ground like, blah. So they're telling us with their face, even if not their words. Dragons love parties. They like costume parties and pool parties. They like big, gigantic parties with accordions and tiny little parties with charades. What's your favorite kind of party? Why do dragons love parties? Maybe it's the conversation. Maybe it's the dancing. Maybe it's the sound of a good friend's laughter. The only thing that dragons love more than tacos or parties is taco parties. Taco parties are parties with lots of tacos. If you want to have some dragons over for a taco party, you're going to need buckets of tacos. Pant loads of tacos. The best way to judge is to get a boat. To get a boat and fill it with tacos. That's about how many tacos dragons need for a taco party. After all, dragons love tacos. Hey, dragon, how do you feel about the big taco party coming up? Once again, this dragon is not telling us with words, but she is grinning from ear to ear, or eye to eye anyway, as she uses her taco calendar to count down the days to the taco party. I think she's excited. Just remember, dragons hate spicy salsa. Before you host your taco party with dragons, get rid of all the spicy salsa. In fact, bury it in the backyard so that the dragons cannot find it. There's our kid burying the salsa. while the dragons line up to come to the party. Hey, these dragons love your party. They love the music, they love the decorations, and they especially love the tacos. Congratulations! Ah, look at how much fun these dragons are having. Especially this guy. It's a good thing you got rid of all that spicy... Wait a minute. What are those little green things in the salsa? You didn't read the fine print? This jar says totally mild salsa. Now with spicy jalapeno peppers. Uh-oh. Dragons, listen to me. Do not eat those tacos. Those little green specks in the salsa, those are jalapeno peppers, and they are super spicy. I know that you love tacos, dragons, but you are not going to love these tacos. Do not let those dragons eat those tacos. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Too late. Those dragons got the tummy troubles and they blew fire everywhere. Yikes. Why would dragons help you rebuild your house? Maybe they're good Samaritans. Maybe they feel bad for wrecking it. Maybe they're just in it for the taco breaks. After all, dragons love tacos. And that is the end. You know, everything turned out okay. We learned a valuable lesson about never giving spicy salsa to dragons, and in the end, that kid made friends with a whole lot of dragons and got his house rebuilt just fine. We're going to read some more of our chapter book. Excuse me for just 1 second. I am having a little bit of a problem where I cannot see my own face in the camera on my computer while I am reading to all of you, and it's making it a little harder to tell for sure if I'm showing you the book very well. Let me see if I can fix it. It's okay if I can't, but it's worth a try. Okay, well, you know what? I will see if I can work some unicorn magic on that before story time this afternoon. Meanwhile, we'll return to our chapter book, Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. We talked yesterday afternoon when we were reading the last chapter of Peter Pan about how there was a lot of foreshadowing coming up in the last chapter. Foreshadowing is something that sneaky authors do when they want to give you an idea of what might be about to happen next. And they get much more, you get much more excited about what you think is going to happen because the author has been building up suspense by giving you hints, but not quite telling you. In this case, the hints that we are getting are that we know something really big. Uh-oh, are my cats gonna fight? Hang on. Kitty cats, you know you can't fight during story time. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. If you want to listen to stories, you gotta be nice to each other. Story time is a safe space for everyone. I'm afraid I will have to ask you to leave. You know, I usually never have to ask people to leave story time. It's very rare. I think that because my cats are just so difficult sometimes, I have probably asked more people or creatures. I've asked more creatures to leave story time in the time that I've been doing virtual story time than in all my previous storytelling days. In any event, we know something big is going to happen in Neverland to Peter Pan, to Wendy, and the Lost Boys tonight, but we don't know what it is yet. And in this chapter, as the night begins to unfold, we will start finding out. And we also know that Wendy is about to tell a story about mothers. Peter Pan does not like mothers, and so he does not like this story. But Wendy tells it to the Lost Boys anyway. And we're going to find out why Peter doesn't like it and what happens when he explains that to Wendy. Chapter 11, Wendy's Story. Listen then, said Wendy, settling down to her story, with Michael at her feet and the 7 lost boys in the bed. There was once a gentleman. I had rather he had been a lady, Curly said. I wish he had been a white rat, said Nibs. Quiet, their mother admonished them. There was a lady also, and... Oh, Mummy, cried the first twin. You mean that there is a lady also, don't you? She is not dead, is she? Oh, no, of course not. I am awfully glad she isn't dead, said Toodles. Are you glad, John? Of course I am. Are you glad, Nibs? Rather. Are you glad, twins? We are just so glad. Oh, dear, said Wendy. Little less noise there, Peter called out, determined that Wendy should have fair play, even if it was a very beastly story, in his opinion. The gentleman's name, Wendy continued, was Mr. Darling, and the lady's name was Mrs. Darling. Oh, those are Wendy, John, and Michael's parents. I knew them, said John, to annoy the others. I think I knew them, said Michael, rather doubtfully. Something we learned earlier is that the longer that John and Michael stay on the island of Neverland, the harder it is for them to remember where they came from. So Wendy remembers their parents, Mr. and Mrs. Darling, really well. John remembers them. Michael is really young, and he's a little confused. He's not sure if he remembers them or not. They were married, you know, explained Wendy, and what do you think they had? White rats! Cried Nibs, inspired. No. It's awfully puzzling, said Toodles, who knew the story by heart. Quite, Toodles. They had 3 descendants. What is descendants? Well, you are one, twin. Do you hear that, John? I am a descendant. Descendants are only children, said John. Oh dear, sighed Wendy. Now these 3 children had a faithful nurse called Nana, but Mr. Darling was angry with her and chained her up in the yard, and so all the children flew away to Neverland. If you've been following along here at Virtual Storytime, you've heard this story before, because this is the story of how Wendy, John, and Michael flew away to Neverland with Peter because they were upset with their father for chaining up their dog, Nana, who was also their nurse, outside when usually she stayed inside with them. "It's an awfully good story," said Nibs. "They flew away," continued Wendy, "to the Neverland, where the lost children are." "I just thought they did," Curly broke in excitedly. "I don't know how it is, but I just thought they did." "Oh, Wendy," cried Toodles, "was one of the lost children called Toodles?" "Yes, he was." "I am in a story. Hurrah! I am in a story, Nibs." "Hush!" I think Wendy feels a little bit like I felt when my cats started fighting during story time. "Now I want you to consider the feelings of the unhappy parents with their children flown away." "Oh," they all moaned, though they were not really thinking about the feelings of the unhappy parents. One jot. "Think of the empty beds." "Oh." "It's awfully sad," the first twin said cheerfully. "I don't see how it can have a happy ending," said the second twin. "Do you, Nibs?" "I'm frightfully anxious." "If you knew how great is a mother's love," Wendy told them triumphantly, "you would have no fear." She had now come to the part of the story that Peter hated. "I do like a mother's love," said Toodles, hitting Nibs with a pillow. "Do you like a mother's love, Nibs?" "I do just," said Nibs, hitting back. "You see," Wendy said complacently, "our heroine," that is a name for a woman hero, and Wendy is referring to herself in the story. "Our heroine knew that the mother would always leave the window open for her children to fly back by. So they stayed away for years and had a lovely time." "Did they ever go back?" "Let us now," said Wendy, bracing herself up for her finest effort, "take a peep into the future." And they all gave themselves the twist that makes peeps into the future easier. Years have rolled by, and who is this elegant lady of uncertain age, alighting at the London station? "Oh, Wendy, who is she?" cried Nibs, every bit as excited as if he didn't know. Do you have stories like this where you always get so excited about everything, even if you already know the story really well? Most of us do. Peter Pan is one of those stories for me. That's one of the reasons I love reading it to you. Can it be? Yes. No. Yes, it is! The fair Wendy! Oh! And who are the two noble, portly figures accompanying her, now grown to man's estate? Can they be John and Michael? They are. Ooh! "See, dear brothers," says Wendy, pointing upwards. "There is the window, still standing open. Ah, now we are rewarded for our sublime faith in a mother's love." So up they flew to their mummy and daddy, and pen cannot describe the happy scene over which we draw a veil. That was the story, and all the Lost Boys were as pleased with it as the fair narrator herself. Everything just as it should be, you see. Off we skip, like the most heartless things in the world, which is what we are when we are children, but so attractive, and we have an entirely selfish time, and then, when we have need of special attention, we nobly return for it, confident that we shall be rewarded, instead of smacked. So great indeed was Wendy's faith in a mother's love that she and the others all felt that they could afford to be callous for a bit longer. That might be a little hard to understand. What's going on is that Wendy understands that her mother probably really misses her and John and Michael while they're in Neverland, but she's having a really good time, and she knows her mom will always love her no matter what. So she thinks it'll be okay if she just stays and keeps having a good time in Neverland and waits a little longer to go home. She still believes that she's going to go home in the end, but she thinks it'll be okay if it's not just yet. And she's not really thinking about how it might affect her mother for her to be far away. But there was one who knew better. And when Wendy finished, he uttered a hollow groan. "What is it, Peter?" Wendy cried, running to him, thinking he might be ill. She felt him solicitously, lower down than his chest. "Where is it, Peter?" "It isn't that kind of a pain," Peter replied darkly. "Then what kind is it?" "Wendy, you are wrong about mothers." They all gathered round him in a fright. So alarming was his agitation. And with a fine candor, he told them what he had hitherto concealed. "Long ago," he said, because remember, Peter Pan flew away from home too, once upon a time. That's how he got to Neverland. "I thought, like you, that my mother would always keep the window open for me. So I stayed away for moons and moons, and then I flew back. But the window was barred. For Mother had forgotten all about me, and there was another little boy sleeping in my bed." I am not sure this was true, but Peter thought it was true, and it scared them. What do you think happened? Peter thinks that what happened is that he flew away from home to have adventures, and when he came back, the window to his bedroom was closed because his mother had forgotten all about him. That's why he doesn't like mothers, and that's why he doesn't like Wendy's story about mothers. Now, the narrator of this book is already saying that they're not sure that Peter is really telling the truth, or that Peter really remembers the story correctly. I think that what might have happened is that the reason that the window was closed and that there was another little boy sleeping in Peter's bed, it's not because Peter's mother forgot him, but because she missed him so much that when she had another little boy, she was afraid he would fly away through the window too. So that's why she's keeping the window closed, but that is not what Peter thinks. He thinks that his mother was really mean to him and forgot about him, and he's using that story to scare the other lost boys right now. "Are you sure mothers are like that, Peter?" Oh, the lost boys sound like they believe him. "Yes. So this was the truth about mothers. The toads! Still, it is best to be careful, and no one knows so quickly as a child when he should give in." "Wendy, let us go home now!" cried John and Michael together. "Yes," she said, clutching them. They were going to stay in Neverland much longer, but now they're worried that if they don't go home to their mother, she might forget about them, like Peter believes that his mother did. "Not tonight?" asked the lost boys, bewildered. They knew in what they called their hearts that one can get on quite well without a mother, and that it is only the mothers who think you can't. "At once," Wendy replied resolutely, for the horrible thought had come to her, perhaps Mother is in half mourning by this time. You know, what's happening here is that Wendy is growing up. In Neverland, nobody grows up, especially Peter Pan, but Wendy is starting to think about how her mother would feel. She's not just worried that her mother might be mean to her. She also cares about her mother, and she doesn't want her mother to worry while she's not home. And as we grow up, we start thinking about other people's feelings more and more. This dread made her forgetful of what must be Peter's feelings, and she said to him rather sharply, "Peter, will you make the necessary arrangements?" "If you wish it," he replied as coolly as if she had asked him to pass the nuts. Not so much as a sorry to lose you between them. If she did not mind the parting, he was going to show her that he, Peter, did not care either. But of course he cared very much, and he was so full of wrath against grown-ups, who, as usual, were spoiling everything, that as soon as he got inside his tree, he breathed intentionally quick, short breaths at the rate of about 5 to a second. He did this because there is a saying in Neverland that every time you breathe, a grown-up dies. And Peter was killing them off vindictively, as fast as possible. He thinks grown-ups are taking Wendy away from him, and he is upset about it. Having given the necessary instructions to the warriors guarding the house outside, he returned to the home where an unworthy scene had been enacted in Peter's absence. Panic-stricken at the thought of losing Wendy, the lost boys had advanced upon her threateningly. "It will be worse than before she came," they cried. "We shan't let her go. Let's keep her prisoner. Aye, chain her up." They're going to miss Wendy. They don't want her to leave. In her extremity, an instinct told her which of them to turn to. "Toodles," she cried, "I appeal to you." Was it not strange? She appealed to Toodles, quite the silliest of the lost boys. Grandly, however, did Toodles respond. For that one moment he dropped his silliness and spoke with dignity. "I am just Toodles," he said, "and nobody minds me. But the first who does not behave to Wendy like an English gentleman, I will blood him severely." He drew his hanger, and for that instant, his sun was at noon. That means that it was a very proud moment for him. The others held back uneasily. Then Peter returned, and they saw at once that they would get no support from him. He would keep no girl in Neverland against her will. Well, Wendy and John and Michael are determined to go home. The Lost Boys don't like it. Peter doesn't like it either, but he's not going to stop Wendy if that's what she wants. So that's where we'll leave things for now. It's a very complicated situation, but this afternoon we'll figure out what happens next. And we're also going to find out that even though Wendy and John and Michael are getting ready to fly home from Neverland, their adventure is very definitely not over yet. Thank you so much for tuning in to Virtual Storytime from the Newark Public Library. You can catch more Virtual Storytime with me and Jonathan Van Unicorn any day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. and again at 2 p.m. We also have virtual bedtime stories on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. So please come and listen to some more stories with us again soon. Now, I really apologize for this. We always close out Virtual Storytime with a unicorn dance party. But today, because I am unable to see my video, it's going to be a little tricky for me to make sure that you can see me while I'm dancing. So you know what I'll do? I will have Jonathan do all of the dancing for both of us, and you can get on your feet and dance with Jonathan Van Unicorn for our special Taco Tuesday dance party. Here we go.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a dream. Yum, 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 yummity yum. Bring your sour cream.
Shell, meat, lettuce, cheese. Shell, meat, lettuce, cheese. Shell, meat, cheese, 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 cheese.